The forgotten species. The grand chamber of the Galactic conclave hummed with the voices of 100 different species. Towering crystalline beings stood beside amorphous gas entities contained in hovering spheres. 12-limbed arthropods clicked mandibles at reptilian diplomats, while energy beings pulsed in patterns denoting formal greeting protocols. This gathering represented the pinnacle of civilization, 30,000 years of interstellar peace, technological advancement, and cultural exchange. They called themselves enlightened. They called themselves wise. They called humans a fairy tale. High Counselor Vexillor, an ancient Atraxian whose scaled skin had faded from vibrant blue to pale gray over his 3 centuries of life, raised a clawed hand for silence. The chamber's ambient noise diminished as translation devices adjusted to focus on his words. The delegation from the Mendari Collective brings forth concerns about activity in Sector 719b, Vexillor announced, voice amplified through the chamber. This sector has been designated as uninhabitable since the Great Cataclysm of Cycle 9174. Counselor Zith Nera will present their findings. A slender avian creature glided to the center platform, feathers iridescent under the chamber's lights. Images projected around her as she spoke. For the past 7 rotations, our deep space monitoring stations have detected anomalous signals originating from this region, she chirped, manipulating the holographic display to show waveform patterns. The signals do not match any known communication protocol in our archives. However, she paused dramatically. Pattern analysis suggests a 97.3% probability match with theoretical human communication signatures. The chamber erupted in laughter. Humans, hooted a gelatinous diplomat from the back. Why not claim you found the void whales of Epsilon Eridani while you're spinning tails? Zithnera's feathers flattened in annoyance. The Mendari Collective does not present theories without substantial evidence. We request immediate investigation of Sector 719b. Vexillor's ancient eyes narrowed. The human species is a myth, Counselor. A cautionary tale invented during the early days of interstellar expansion. They serve as fictional villains in children's stories, nothing more. With respect, High Counselor, Zith Nera persisted, the historical archives from the earliest days of the Conclave contain fragmentary references to a conflict with a species called humans from a world called Earth. Both the planet and species were reportedly destroyed during the cataclysm. Fictional records created to justify military expenditures during the formative years of our alliance dismissed Vexillor. Nevertheless, unexplained signals warrant investigation. I will dispatch Admiral Zextral with a scientific and military contingent to examine Sector 719b and put these childish concerns to rest. 27 days later, the Conclave's most advanced exploratory vessel, the Eternal Seeker, dropped out of superluminal transit at the edge of Sector 719b. Admiral Zextral, a veteran commander of the Atraxian fleet with cybernetic enhancements glinting along his jawline, studied the sensor readings with mounting unease. Report, he commanded, his 4 eyes fixed on the main view screen. Science Officer Kelmora, a Mendari whose blue-black feathers betrayed her nervous state, consulted her instruments. Anomalous readings throughout the sector, Admiral. Our sensors detect extensive gravitational distortions that don't correspond to any natural phenomena. Additionally, background radiation patterns suggest artificial manipulation on a stellar scale. Impossible, muttered Zextral. This sector has been uninhabited for millennia. Proceed to coordinates of the signal origin. As the Eternal Seeker ventured deeper into the system, the anomalies multiplied. Navigation systems flickered erratically. Communication relays experienced unexplained delays. Engineering reported power fluctuations throughout the vessel. Admiral, called the sensor officer, alarm evident in his voice. We're detecting a structure ahead. The view screen adjusted to show a massive metallic object orbiting the 5th planet of the system. A gas giant with swirling copper-colored clouds. The structure appeared to be an ancient station or outpost, its design unlike anything in Conclave records. Fascinating, whispered Kelmore. Its construction materials include elements unknown to our periodic table. This technology is beyond our understanding. Approach with caution, ordered Zextral. Maintain defensive posture but show no aggressive intent. The Eternal Seeker edged closer to the mysterious structure. Without warning, a beam of coherent energy lanced from the station, not striking the ship but washing over it in a scanning pattern. "We're being probed," reported the tactical officer, fingers dancing over controls. "Sir, our systems are being accessed. Firewalls ineffective." Before Zextral could respond, every screen on the bridge changed simultaneously. A symbol appeared, a blue circular field with a white stylized figure in the center. Below it, text scrolled in an unknown language. "Universal Translator engage," announced the ship's eye. Then, in clear Conclave standard, "ATNTION unauthorized vessel. UHAVENTRED restricted human space. State your purpose or retaliate INNEDA Eloi." The bridge fell silent. Zextral felt his heart skip a beat. "Open communication channel," he ordered, struggling to keep his voice steady. "This is Admiral Zextral of the Galactic Conclave exploratory vessel Eternal Seeker. We are on a peaceful mission investigating signal anomalies from this sector. We mean no harm." Seconds stretched into minutes with no response. Then, "SCANIing historical database, Galactic CLAV, identified. Status, former NEMY combatant, last engagement, 11,247 standard years ago. Ceasefire protocol, active. Enemy combatant. Ceasefire." Zextral exchanged confused glances with his officers. "We have no record of conflict with your species," he replied cautiously. "According to our history, humans are. We're thought to be extinct. May we request direct communication with your leadership?" Another pause. "Request DNID. Automated defense network active. However, as good faith gesture, limited historical RC8IVA's access is granted. Retrieval BACON activated. UAV 6. 8 OURs to REVIU and DP-paired human space. A massive data package transferred to the Eternal Seeker's computers, overwhelming their systems momentarily before being contained in isolated memory cores. Kelmore gasped as she examined the first files. "Admiral, these are historical records, military conflicts, scientific advancements, cultural archives. If authentic, they detail a species that achieved interstellar capability over 12,000 years ago." "That's impossible," said Zextral. "The Conclave are the first and only civilization to achieve stable faster-than-light travel. According to these records," Kelmora continued, her voice trembling, "humans not only achieved it but were involved in a devastating war with the founding species of the Conclave." The bridge descended into stunned silence as images began playing on the main screen, recordings showing battles between ships of unfamiliar design, planets with atmospheres burning away, and strange bipedal creatures fighting with savage determination against overwhelming odds. "These beings," whispered Zextral, "they're so fragile-looking." Their physical capabilities were indeed limited compared to most spacefaring species, Kelmora read from the data, but their technological innovation and adaptive capacity were unprecedented. According to this, humans were facing extinction from multiple Conclave founder species when they deployed something called the Veil, a technology that effectively removed Earth and several colony worlds from detection. "That's why our records are incomplete," realized Zextral. "The victors wrote a history without humans, erasing their existence rather than acknowledging defeat." As they delved deeper into the archives, the truth became increasingly clear and increasingly troubling. Humans hadn't been defeated. They had chosen strategic disappearance, withdrawing behind technological shields while continuing to advance in isolation. The final file in the archive was a simple text message. We have forgotten. 5 hours and 58 minutes after receiving the data package, the Eternal Seeker prepared to depart. Admiral Zextrol ordered all findings sealed under highest security protocols for direct delivery to the High Council. "Sir," interrupted the tactical officer, "we're detecting energy signatures, hundreds of them, activating throughout the system." The view screen showed dots of light flickering into existence, ships, stations, and orbital platforms shedding some kind of cloaking technology. An entire civilization revealed itself in moments, encompassing not just this system, but extending outward to neighboring stars. "They've been here all along," whispered Zextrol, "watching us cross their borders, monitoring our growth, judging our worthiness." As the Eternal Seeker accelerated away from the system, one final transmission came through. "The VEIL-FALs, the Forgotten return. Prepare your séances LAV." 2 weeks later, High Counselor Vexler once again called for silence in the conclave chamber. The mood was very different from the previous gathering. No laughter, only tension as Admiral Zextrol's report was reviewed. "This is clearly an elaborate hoax," declared Counselor Drax of the Silicon Collective. "Some pirates or outlaws with advanced technology attempting to intimidate us with ancient myths. The technological signatures are beyond anything in known space," countered Zithnera. "The archival data contains details about our founding species that aren't even in our public records." Regardless of origin, Vexler said firmly, "This represents a potential threat. I propose immediate military mobilization to Sector 719B to establish control and determine the nature of these entities." The vote was near unanimous. Only the Mendari Collective and 2 smaller delegations opposed military action. 3 days later, the Conclave dispatched its largest battle fleet in 5,000 years, 200 capital ships and over 1,000 support vessels, armed with the most advanced weapons in known space. They never made it to Sector 719B. At precisely the same moment across 200 worlds, the skies change. The veil that had hidden humanity for millennia dropped completely, revealing not just their home system, but hundreds of colony worlds, orbital habitats, and artificial constructs throughout conclave space. On every conclave world, the same message appeared simultaneously in every communication system, translated perfectly into each species' language. "We came in peace once before. You answered with genocide. We withdrew rather than destroy you. Now we return, not as conquerors, but as equals. The human race offers 2 paths, alliance or neutrality. Choose wisely. You have 3 days." In the grand chamber of the conclave, now in permanent emergency session, the holographic projector activated without authorization. A figure appeared, a human woman with dark skin and silver augmentations tracing delicate patterns across her temples. When she spoke, her voice carried both warmth and unmistakable authority. "I am Commander Elena Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Your fleet has been temporarily disabled but not harmed. They will remain in stasis until our discussions conclude. Shall we begin?" The age of fairy tales was over. The age of humanity had returned. Reckoning Day. Commander Elena Chen stood alone in the grand chamber of the Galactic Conclave, her physical presence a calculated risk. Though her body was enhanced with cutting-edge biomechanical augmentations, it remained vulnerable. A single assassination attempt by any of the 100 alien delegates could end her life before her security protocols activated. But humans had always understood the power of vulnerability as diplomacy. "Your fleet remains unharmed," she repeated, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber without apparent amplification. 200 capital ships, 1,043 support vessels, and 628,000 personnel are currently in temporal stasis. They experience no passage of time and will return exactly as they were when our discussion concludes. High Counselor Vexillor arose from his seat, ancient scales glinting under the chamber lights. "This is an act of war," he hissed, claws gripping the podium. "You infiltrate our territories, disable our defensive forces, and then claim peaceful intentions." Elena smiled, a gesture that held different meanings across species but which she knew the conclave translation algorithms would interpret correctly. "If we wanted war, Counselor, your worlds would already be ash. We've had 12,000 years to perfect our methods of destruction, while watching you forget the lessons of history." She gestured, and the chamber's projection system activated without any visible interface. The space above filled with images, planets, stations, and fleets all across conclave space, each with human vessels or installations nearby. "We've been among you for millennia, watching, learning, preparing for this moment, not for revenge, though many of my people demanded it, but for reintegration." "Impossible," breathed Zithnera, the Mendari scientist who had first detected human signals. "Our detection systems would have found evidence of your presence. Your systems," Elena replied gently, "are largely based on principles we provided to your ancestors. The victors may write history, Counselor, but the survivors design its future." With another gesture, the projections changed to historical footage, meetings between early humans and alien species, peaceful exchanges, scientific collaboration. Before the war that erased us from your histories, humanity had established peaceful contact with 17 spacefaring civilizations. We shared technology, culture, resources, until the hegemony, the precursor to your conclave, decided our rapid advancement posed an existential threat. The images shifted to scenes of devastation, human colonies burning, Earth's cities in ruins, billions dead in a coordinated attack that had come without warning. 97% of humanity was exterminated in 6 days, Elena continued, her voice now carrying the weight of ancient grief. The remaining 3% faced a choice: fight until both sides were destroyed, or disappear. Vexillor's scales had paled to ashen gray. "If what you say is true, why return now? Why not remain hidden? Or if vengeance is your aim, why announce yourselves at all?" Elena's augmentations pulsed with soft blue light as she considered her response. "Because isolation has its costs, Counselor. 12 millennia of advancement without exchange has left us incomplete, and because the universe faces threats that neither humans nor the Conclave can face alone." For the next 6 hours, Elena Chen laid out humanity's proposal. Not subjugation, not even alliance at first, but controlled reintegration. Technology exchanges under supervision, cultural missions, scientific collaboration with careful oversight, a path forward that acknowledged history without being chained to it. Many counselors remained skeptical, some openly hostile. But when the session ended, Elena departed without ceremony, leaving behind irrefutable evidence of humanity's return and power, along with an invitation. "Send representatives to Earth. See what we have become. Then decide." Admiral Zextral found himself in an impossible situation. One moment, the Conclave battle fleet had been approaching Sector 719B, weapons charged and shields at maximum. The next, they were drifting in space, all systems temporarily disabled, with a human vessel, sleek, impossibly advanced, and barely larger than a scout ship, keeping pace alongside his flagship. "Your ships will regain full functionality in approximately 3 minutes, Admiral," announced a calm voice over the communication system. "I am Captain Marcus Way of the Earth Defense Force. I'll be your escort to Sol System." Zextral's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. "Escort? We're your prisoners." "Not at all," replied Y. "You're our invited guests. Your conclave has agreed to diplomatic exchange. You personally have been selected as the military representative due to your previous encounter with our automated outpost. True to the human's word, Power returned to the fleet minutes later. What followed defied explanation. The human vessel generated what appeared to be a localized wormhole, and Zex watched in astonishment as his fleet was gently but irresistibly guided through space in a manner that defied known physics. The journey to Earth, which should have taken weeks, lasted less than an hour. When they emerged, Zex gasped audibly. Before them hung not just one world, but an entire system transformed. Earth itself was a gleaming blue-green jewel, but it was surrounded by massive orbital structures. Rings, habitats, and stations that dwarfed anything the Conclave had built. The gas giants of the system had been partially dismantled, their resources harvested to create artificial worlds. The sun itself appeared to be encased in a partial Dyson swarm, capturing its energy with perfect efficiency. "Welcome to Sol System, Admiral," said Captain Wei. "Home of humanity for over 50,000 years, and center of human space for the past 12,000. "This is impossible," Zex whispered. "To achieve this level of engineering would require time, patience, and motivation." Wei finished for him. "We had all three in abundance after your ancestors tried to exterminate us." As the Conclave fleet approached Earth, more details became visible. The planet's surface showed evidence of ancient devastation, entire continents bearing scars that even 12 millennia of recovery couldn't fully heal. But rising from these scars were cities unlike any in the Conclave. Structures that seemed to merge organically with the landscape, technology, and nature in perfect harmony. "Our delegation will meet your representatives at Harmony Station," we instructed, indicating a massive orbital complex. "From there, you'll be given a complete tour of our primary systems." The next 3 days transformed everything the Conclave thought they knew about their place in the universe. Humanity, they learned, had not simply hidden. They had transcended. Their technology operated on principles that the Conclave's best scientists could barely comprehend. Their society had evolved beyond concepts like scarcity or competition, without sacrificing the drive and creativity that had always defined their species. And most impressively, or terrifyingly, depending on one's perspective, they had expanded far beyond the borders of what the Conclave considered known space. "We've established 37 major colony worlds and hundreds of outposts across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy," explained Dr. Sofia Alvarez, Earth's chief diplomat, during a presentation to the Conclave delegation. "Our population now exceeds 20 billion sentient individuals, including several non-human species we encountered beyond Conclave space who chose alliance over conflict." Zex, representing the military contingent, asked the question that haunted many. "With such power at your disposal, why not simply conquer us? Why offer peace when you could demand subjugation?" Dr. Alvarez's expression softened. "Because we remember what it feels like to face extinction, Admiral. Because 12,000 years gave us perspective along with power. And because the true measure of advancement isn't what you can destroy, but what you choose to preserve." On the final day of the delegation's visit, they were brought to a facility deep beneath Earth's surface, a memorial to the billions who had died in what humans called the Burning. The massive underground chamber held perfect holographic recreations of Earth's great cities as they had been before destruction, along with the faces and recorded memories of countless victims. In the center stood a simple monument, a broken world being lifted by countless hands, with an inscription in the ancient human language of English, translated for all visitors. "We remember not to hate, but to ensure it never happens again." It was here that Commander Elena Chen rejoined the delegation, now accompanied by a figure that caused immediate shock among the Conclave representatives. Beside her stood what appeared to be an Atraxian elder, similar in form to High Counselor Vexilur, but with scales bearing patterns unseen in modern members of the species. "This is First Observer Kier Zalin," Elena introduced him. "One of 17 non-human allies who chose to join us behind the veil rather than participate in our extinction." The ancient Atraxian's voice crackled with age that suggested he had lived far longer than should be biologically possible. I witnessed the decision to eradicate humanity. I witnessed the attack. And I witnessed their choice to disappear rather than unleash weapons that would have destroyed all involved. For 12,000 years, I and others like me have served as living reminders of why reconciliation must be possible. Zextral found his voice. You're saying members of our founding species chose to defect. We chose truth, corrected Kurzalen. The hegemony attacked humanity not because they were a threat, but because they refused to be controlled. Human technology was advancing too quickly, spreading too freely among younger species. The hegemony feared a future where they were no longer dominant. On the final evening, as the conclave delegation prepared to return with their report, Alina Chen met privately with Zextral and Zithnera, the two who had first confirmed humanity's existence. You have questions still, she said, not a query but a statement of fact. Zithnera's feathers rustled with nervous energy. If you've had the power to return for thousands of years, why now? What changed? Alina's augmentations pulsed once, projecting a holographic map of the galaxy with several regions highlighted in red. Because there are threats approaching that neither humans nor the conclave can face alone. Beyond the borders of known space, things move in the darkness between stars. We've held them back from our territories, but they grow stronger. You've seen fragments of their advanced scouts in your outlying systems, ships and signals you can't explain, disappearances you attribute to piracy or natural disaster. Zextral felt a chill run through his body. The void incidents in the outer reach. Yes, Alina confirmed. Not accidents. Not anomalies. First contact with something ancient and utterly hostile to all organic life. We call them the nullifiers. A machine intelligence evolved in the spaces between galaxies, spreading inward over millions of years. They've consumed 17 advanced civilizations that we know of. And you need our help against them, asked Zithnera, surprised. Alina's smile held no humor. No, counselor. You need ours. We could survive alone for perhaps another 1,000 years. The conclave would fall within a century without our intervention. As the delegation departed Earth the next day, carrying data cores filled with evidence, both of humanity's past suffering and the approaching threat, Zextral stood at the observation deck of his flagship. Earth receded behind them, a blue jewel surrounded by the greatest works of engineering he had ever witnessed. They could destroy us all, he murmured to Zithnera, who stood beside him. Yet they offer partnership instead. The Mendari scientist's feathers rippled in what her species considered a smile. Perhaps that's why they survived when so many others perished. They understand that true power isn't measured by destruction, but by creation. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Conclave voted to formally acknowledge humanity's existence and rights to their territories. 2 months after that, the first official human embassy opened on the Conclave capital world. 6 months later, the first joint human Conclave fleet departed to confront a nullifier advance force at the edge of known space. And throughout the galaxy, children of 100 species learned a new bedtime story. Not about fictional monsters called humans, but about a people who had been broken but not defeated, who had returned not for vengeance but salvation, and who had transformed from legend into humanity's greatest allies. The story always ended the same way. They said humans were just a legend. Then their warships arrived, and the galaxy was never the same again.